Hey y'all, welcome to another What Else is Going On, aka We Go podcast episode. I'm your girl, your host Taria, reporting live from Baltimore County where it is storming cats and dogs. It looks like it's going to be another um what's that? The Wizard of Oz tornado. That's really what it looks like. But it is definitely a doozy out there. Isn't that what the news people would say? It is a doozy. Clouds are moving in fast and furious, and rain is flooding the streets. So I have decided to come home because I was going to go back out to work. But I'm home. My electricity went out earlier. It's back. And then I was trying to vote in these Love Island polls, and the lights started flickering. I said, oh, I got to get this video done in case the power goes out again. So let's get into the most recent episode of The Real Housewives of Atlanta. I miss y'all. I hope that y'all miss me. Um, let's get back to our regularly scheduled program, shall we? All right, so let's get into it. This episode called Game Over. What did y'all think about this episode? I enjoyed it, and I'm not gonna lie, y'all. I know people don't like Britt Edie. I've said that I didn't feel like she was necessarily a housewives fit. I wasn't saying she was loving hip hop, maybe like a basketball life. I don't know. But I'm not gonna lie, I feel like Britt was kind of holding her own in the last few episodes because I do feel like Shamia was being passive aggressive and she was holding her own up against Kelly. The going back and forth and the barbs back and forth have been funny to me. So I enjoyed this episode and still wanted more. You know what I mean? I don't know. Let's y'all let me know what y'all think. Overall, before we get into the specifics, did y'all enjoy the episode? What was your favorite part about the episode? What was your least favorite part about the episode? Or what did you think it was chef's kiss all throughout? Or did you would think it was a no? Did you think it was a no all throughout? All right, let's get into it. First up, Porsha and Lauren go over to visit Phaedra. Phaedra is she's helping them plan Londy's homecoming. I thought that was, um, beautiful of her. They got to laugh. They got to uh, talk. You know, sometimes during the stages of planning, those of you who've experienced grief and have been had a either been have planned a homegoing or have had a front row seat to someone close to you passing away and the homegoing is being planned. It's still almost hard to believe as you're going through it, right? It's not until the repast goes away, 2 weeks go by, 3 weeks go by, 6 months go by, and everybody kind of returns to their normal lives, and there you are, is when it really sets in. And I feel like in those moments, when everybody's around, you can draw strength from them to hold you, when things get quiet. So, it was funny seeing them all together, laughing, joking. It seemed warm. It seemed real. It seemed warm. I know that what's her name? Lauren was really, really, really close to Londi. I believe at one point Lauren had said that she talked to Londi every single day. And I remember seeing um Lauren's post on Threads and she was going through it, like posting about Londi. Like we would normally be on the phone. I can't believe she's not here. My best friend is gone. Like they were very, very, very close. So, it was nice that Phaedra is there to assist them. Now I do wonder because Portia said that what Londi's mom and either sister or somebody would be having trouble planning it. So did Portia and Lauren plan the entire thing, I wonder, or was that just did they have a big part of it? I wonder why we didn't it was probably too hard. I was going to say film the rest of the family planning, but I imagine that would probably be really hard. And then for Lonnie to be on the phone with Lauren as she passed away. I have been in a room, I told y'all before, I was in the room when my grandma passed away, right? And that definitely changes you. But I also knew that it was coming, meaning I knew that we were in this room. She could hear us, but she was passing away. And we got to talk to her. And she squeezed my hand. And we did all these things. And we sang to her, right? Um, and it's funny when people talk about Portia's. I've seen people say Portia doesn't seem to be grieving, and people grieve differently. I know my family, my that side of the family, we handle grief with laughter. So, for instance, my grandmother is literally passing away, We've never passed away, so we don't know what it's like. Is there a light? Is there not a light? Is there this? And but we know my grandma, was a God-fearing woman. Also, we don't know, does it get dark first before it gets light? I'm just telling y'all the things we were thinking about in the room, right? So my mom says, Grandma was afraid of the dark, so let's sing her into glory, basically, right? We're singing to her. And then we were singing like some of her favorite songs, I think like from the Williams brothers and other artists. And my mom starts singing, I'm on the stairway to heaven. And then we just locked eyes and bust out laughing. Like, and we were like, no, 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 we don't want to sing that because we hope she was literally on her stairway to heaven, right? So we laughed and like that's how we kind of got through that moment, sending her on. Again, we knew that she was transitioning. I cannot imagine being on the phone, a family member of mine, my best friend, husband, kid, and somebody calling you saying that they're in distress and then dying on the phone. Like, I can't even imagine. Like, my heart goes out to the entire family. Again, we know she was Porsha and Londi and Lauren grew up. Like, we know Lauren and Porsha are sisters, but Londi grew up like their sister. So I can't even imagine being on the phone. So just still prayers up. It doesn't get um, easier, you know. It does and it doesn't, if you will. I'll say that. So prayers up to the family. Child, when they talked about butterflies being released and Portia said, "Will the butterfly come back?" And Phaedra said, "There are no trained butterflies." That was funny to me. I was like, what a moment to lighten. Sometimes I'll be like, do Portia be saying this stuff like to be funny and make a moment, or is she serious? Either way, it was a funny moment. I just saw a butterfly literally the other day. I love butterflies. So moving on, Angela sees her therapist. Angela is so pretty to me. She sees her therapist. She said Angela and Charles both see this therapist. Her name is Wendy. They've seen her since 2017, I guess when they were having those issues in their marriage. Um, she said that the therapist helps her deal with Charles and being with a man like Charles. He's handsome, he's famous, he's successful, he has money. She said Wendy has been instrumental in helping them stay married through it all. I get couples staying in counseling. Like some people say, well, why do you need counseling after you go through your initial couples counseling to get married, right? Because some pastors require that before they marry you. I get that. I get the therapy checking in because things change, couples change, we evolve. You want your couple to be with you, you know? Sex drives can be high, they can be low, they can be, I don't want this anymore, or I want this more. Where I was 5 years ago, I'm not there now, and y'all aren't seeing eye to eye. So I can see that. But what got me was when she said it was mainly about Charles. It was mainly the therapist is here to help me navigate being married to a man like Charles, who's handsome, who's famous, who has money, who's successful. Again, I get this sentiment at the same time. That's for Charles to, Charles knows he's married and how he should deal with being handsome, famous, successful, and women wanting him. That was my thought. Angela talks about how she's underwater in these homes. Remember, y'all, she was in the hole with these rental properties. Charles didn't want her to initially get the rental properties, but she did anyway. And he's been pumping money into the properties, but now he's over it. So she says she's learned how, in order to protect your marriage, sometimes you got to cut off your finger to save your hand. I said, now look, again, I get what she's saying. Rather cut off the whole finger if an infection gets in the finger, rather than to lose the hand. But if your partner is the one causing the infection and now you got to cut off your finger to save your hand, that's a problem. And now you're left with the nub as a reminder of what you sacrificed because of his actions. And maybe her too. Maybe I'm just saying, but just the way she said it all, it was very much Charles centered. And I get wanting to protect your marriage, wanting to put in the work for your marriage, all of that. I've been married for 24 years. Well, it'll be 24 years in September. I get all of that. But some of that was just kind of like, but hey, they're in therapy. And if it's working for them, it's working for them. Because when she put it so graphically, I was like, dang. Anyway, so she tells the therapist she's learned how to trust Charles. She's learning who to trust. And Charles is one of those people she can trust him now. It took her a long time to trust him. She said, and there was reasons why. Obviously, we know why. After the Madison Square Garden event, he was embarrassed. So I guess the way he got over his embarrassment and his egos was pumping through other women, I guess. Because remember, they separated. So anyway, she trusts him now, and she should have trusted him not to get these properties. I don't know if y'all can hear the thunder or not. If so, sorry, y'all probably can't though. But if you can, if y'all hear boom, that's what it is. So she explains to Wendy, the therapist, again, what happened at Kelly's cooking event. And she said, when the guy was like, cheers, if your name is Angela and your husband is cheating on you with another woman. She said she told Charles, and Charles basically said it was a plan. Like Charles believes it was a setup. Um, the guy, and Charles said the guy was put there, and he said, "Do you trust me?" So Charles asked her, "Do you trust me?" Again, she talked about how she used to not trust Charles, rightfully so, but now she says they're really good. Charles has proven time and time again that he can be trusted. This is what he's telling her, right? So the therapist brings up, I guess Charles wakes up at night and says he feels like he's going to be targeted and says, "I'm attacked." And Angela says she doesn't want to go there. Is that PTSD from what happened at Madison Square Garden? With all that happening, is that what she's saying? Does he wake up and like, does he have anxiety about it now? And because I believe that can happen. An incident can trigger something in you that you didn't even know you had, right? So I don't know. She did say he was in a really bad spot afterwards. So in her confessional, Angela says before she may have let all this stuff and the questioning about her marriage ride, but now she's going to protect what she has. And she's in her fighting mode when it comes to her marriage. She told Wendy she's going to address all the rumors and things because she's tired of people making Charles the target. Wendy says, "So you want to do it because you want to make a statement about you?" So Angela says, "Yeah." So Wendy said, "Well, what's the statement?" Angela said, "Leave me the F alone." Now, I will say, and I'm going to say this because there has been conversation about, well, is Angela bringing up things about her marriage? It started when they were at the bank and Portia's, right? I think, well, I won't say it started, but Charles, the conversations around Charles seem to have started when Porsha said, "Oh, I know about Charles, remember?" And that went on. Angela was like, "Well, what do you know?" And then days later, Portia says, "I was just kidding." And then, you have Portia saying she better stop for I have Charles. Then you have Phaedra saying, "I never known Charles to be married because he wasn't married during the time that you hung in the circles with him." So it does seem like her marriage is a target. And old school housewives, I feel like if things came out about the husbands, like genuinely, this stuff would be brought up. But now it's almost like we're going to target this. It does feel like that, like with Giselle on Potomac, because we're not even talking about some of the rumors that were out about some of the husbands she talked about weren't even huge rumors, So now you're bringing them to the camera because we're not talking about your life. It just seems like it's a theme now to go after these marriages. And it seems like some of it could be I'm digging, not, oops, these things came out. Now, well, they came out. We got to talk about them, right? It seems like there's digging going on. Like it's become the Real Housewives of expose. And that I don't like. So Shamia and the ladies. Shamia is having a showcase to showcase her music. In her confessional, Drew says, as the resident singer of the group, she's there to give constructive criticism and to see if her mic is really on. So all the ladies are there together. Britt and Kelly are there together. In her confessional, Kelly said, it saddens her that Britt hadn't shown up for her the way that she's shown up for Britt. Like she really, I guess, valued their friendship. And she said, so at this point, she's non-existent to me. Shamia comes out, and I'm gonna tell you how my notes went. I said, Shamia comes out singing and she sounds really good. Then I said, there's a part of me that just can't help to think that if this was Drew's showcase, Shamia would be shading the mess out of it, right? And then I go to Shamia starts singing that note that she hit. And in my notes, I said, I'm just going to look at what I see. And what I see is Shamia sounding really good. And then as soon as I said that, she hit a note that was just a little bit flat. Shamia was sounding good. And I'm like, I'm literally using speak to text. Shamia is sounding really good. Uh-oh. But it happens. It happens to singers, right? It happens. So in her confessional, Drew said, personally, she never had that much trouble hitting a note. I said, oh my. Now look, there were people that didn't like how Drew was shading Shamia. I have a problem with it. You know why? Because they've been in Drew's behind the entire season with a fake beef. Shamia, especially. You've been at Drew creating a fake beef on behalf of Porsha, something that I don't believe Porsha asked you to do. And so Drew got you back by calling you a lapdog and continues to call you one. And now you're the victim. I didn't have a problem with Drew shading this Shamia this whole time because they've been shading her this whole season. So RL was there because they got a song together, right? He now when she went backstage to change, RL told her, "All right, on the next song, you got to take him to church." And Shamia said, "Yeah, because in my first song, my voice was a little shaky." In her confessional, she said she hadn't hit the stage in 20 years, so of course she was nervous. Then her Shia comes out to be a part of it. In her confessional, Kelly said she didn't know that Shamia was going on tour. She said she got production and everything. Child Angela says she put on a phenomenal show and spent some coin. Britt. Well, at the end of the show, poof, surprise, surprise. Gerald is there in the flesh, gives her flowers, tells her how much he loves her. Now, her confessional, Britt says, I think Shamia's voice was very nice, but I don't know why, but her performance could have used a little work. So E for effort, child. Oh, baby. In her confessional, Drew says, Shamia's songs, they could have used a bit more rehearsal. She thinks Shamia's mic was on, but it probably needed to be off. Is it shady? Yes. Can you be like, Drew, why are you doing all that? Yes. Do I care? No, because again, Shamia has been barking up Drew's tree the entire season for no reason, fake stuff. So I don't care. Anyway, I'm mad at you, Drew. So the ladies, it's all over. The ladies are all standing around a table. Angela asked them if they got the invite to her gala. They all said they received it. So there's a Charles Oakley Foundation where they want to feed 100,000 children. Angela says it's been a part of their lives for 8 years. Drew lets us know, Drew says, let us know what you need. We'll do whatever. Kelly says, even if it's just a repost or a repost, like posting the listing, posting about the fundraiser, because, you know, the ladies have a lot of followers. You repost it, donations can come, you know, because people like supporting the people that they like, whether it's content creators, whether it's TV personalities, any of that. People, celebrities, people show their support in that way. So Drew asked Kelly how many followers she has. Kelly says 150. Drew's like 150,000. Britt said, let's talk about fake followers. Y'all, why this is funny to me? Because it was so light. Like, okay, great. Yes, we're arguing over followers, not like over something dark, right? I don't know. Some people may think, you know, you don't challenge my followers, my follower count. That is dark to me. But to me, it was funny. So she said, Kelly got 80,000 followers in one day. Kelly said, I didn't know somebody was stalking my page. Britt said, well, we were really close. And Kelly was like, so you're in competition with me. I, Kelly didn't deny it. Oh, child, y'all. Kelly didn't deny it, did she? Because I didn't hear a denial. Anyway, so Angela said, child, I don't care who y'all got. Tell them to donate. Kelly said, listen. So Angela says, tell your followers to donate. Kelly said, if there's a certain amount, you better say it now, baby, because some of us might not know. And we know that was a callback to Britt saying she didn't know how much she should donate when they were helping the folks out in Grenada. So I'm gonna say this because I'm sorry. I do feel not. I'm sorry. I do feel like Shamia was being passive aggressive. She tries to come off as authentic, but you're being shady in it instead of just standing in how you feel. So it'll be like, you know, y'all, and we're just all so blessed. And, you know, if we're going to just be walking around with Hermes bags and designer shoes and Rolls Royces, then we just need to be our best selves and give the best. No, you could, first of all, you should have addressed Britt. Now, let's be clear. I think it's tacky to do so. But you could have just addressed Brit. So, in saying that, what if somebody was watching this and said, wow, you live in a home, Shamia, that people call a hall, Sterling Hall, right? Either Sterling Hall, Sterling Manor, Sterling Place, something like that. It's worth $9 million. You don't have to work, lift a finger, but you do. So all that extra money could be yours. Somebody could say, I think it's beautiful that you're donating you and Shia's gently used clothes. But what if somebody were to say, well, why aren't you getting them brand new clothes? Why aren't you getting them a whole lot more toilet paper? You're giving them things you already have. Now I'm saying she may have made a donation, but you see what I'm saying? Like I think it's just tacky in general to try to clock what someone is giving because the truth is you don't know someone's financial status. Somebody could have the house, the shoes, the bags, the cars, and then come up on rough financial times that they're working through. But when they step out, they're still stepping out in this stuff that they have already bought. They're not out there trying to floss, meaning trying to buy stuff that they know they can't afford. Well, I bought all this stuff when I had it. So you don't know somebody's financial situation. Not even just this, is not even just about Brit, just in general. So that's why I didn't like that. And maybe they know something we don't know about Brit. I mean, I doubt it. Meaning as far as her having a lot of money. But I still found it tacky. But anyway, I did think it was funny. But let's get back to this. So Shamia comes out and thanks the ladies for being there to support her dream. She says, you know, she wishes that in her confessional, she wishes that Porsha had been able to be there, but she understands, you know, her absence with Lonnie's passing. She said she called Porsha and sent her flowers because we're family. So Shamia and Britt have a side conversation. They hug each other. And she was like, well, I wanted to talk to you. Shamia's telling Britt, I wanted to talk to you. Cynthia told me that you told Porsha I was still talking ish about her. Britt said you said things about her. So Shamia is like what? Britt said, well, you said you didn't feel that she was a good friend and just other things. Shamia said, you're sitting here lying, Britt. You're lying, Britt. And I don't know why. So Britt said, you showed me text messages. Now I do believe Britt because Britt was able to pinpoint. She got who was being talked about in the text wrong, but she said enough for Portia to realize, oh, she has seen my text or she knows what was in my text. Remember when Britt said your attorney said something about Portia's feelings in her confessional? Portia was like, well, that wasn't my attorney, that was my therapist. So we know that something was said that or something was shown for Britt to know what was in the text messages. So in the confessional, Shamia is denying it again. In her confessional, Britt said, you can deny all you want, but you can't lie about those text messages. They show a flashback to 2 months earlier. Remember when they all went out? Britt, Kelly, and Shamia, and they were calling each other best friends. Hey, best friends, hey, best friends. Cheersing it up and all that stuff. And she said, then, but this was also before Porsha and Shamia's talk. So Britt says Shamia showed her all the text message of why she didn't like Porsha and why she feels like Porsha is a hater. If you feel this way about your bestie, why have you never confronted your bestie? I said, okay, all right. All right. I will say when they were all at Britt's house, Porsha, Cynthia, and Britt just brought that up out of nowhere, bringing up Shamia. It did appear as though it was text messages from days ago. Granted, it was still wrong because you're sharing stuff that Portia shared with you that her therapist told her. But it did appear like, oh, this just happened months ago. I mean, days ago, but clearly had been like 2 months prior. So anyway, so let's get into Shamia tells Britt, maybe you're feeling a little bit jealous. Like, I'm stealing your best friend. If I was your best friend, like, I'm stealing your best friend, Kelly. So Britt is like, so then I kind of got confused for a second, but then I came back. I was like, did they cut? Like, what did I miss? So Britt is like, look, you didn't show me your text messages. And this is where I said, okay, when these girls argue, I want the argument to make sense. I don't listen. If you come at somebody, y'all know I always say, you can't tell somebody how to respond, whether you think it's low, low, low to the flow. Think about that before you come for somebody, right? Also, with these group of ladies, there's a lot of deflection. They will throw something out of left field. Like, where in the world did that come from? So Britt says, so you didn't show me your text messages? Shamia then says, now I understand why you can't take shots. Because you took shots and got butt naked. Big butt naked. Why? What did that have to do with the text messages? What? You went from, so are you trying to say that what Britt drinks a lot and that's why she's lying about showing text? I just thought that was so funny. We went from, so you didn't show me the text messages. You didn't show me the text messages. Yes, you did. You didn't show me the text messages. Now I know why you can't take shots because you get naked, big butt naked. Why? That was funny. So Shamia said, oh, so Britt is like, I can. And I did. Like, basically, I can get naked. And so Shamia says, thank you. Thank you for wearing clothes tonight. Again, it was funny, but where did this come from? Child Britt said, did you see your daughter when you went to Miami? Because there was, when they flew back from Grenada, they had a stopover in Miami. And remember, Porsha said she went to dinner with Kelly and Shamia in Miami and asked Kelly, was there an issue with Britt? Remember, they discussed that last episode. So Britt said, did you see your daughter in Miami when you got to Miami? Shamia said, don't bring my daughter up. Britt said, you did that whole situation in Grenada crying, and I really thought that you were honestly going through it. As Britt is saying this, Shamia is like, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. Baby Britt said, I thought she was worried about her daughter, but she was worried about popping shots with Kelly. I said, oh God. Because although she's not talking about her daughter, that's still like, but again, Shamia said, at least I'm not popping pills, Britt. Britt said, don't call me a pill popper. Shamia said, I'm only calling what I see, darling. Britt said, you were lying about what your daughter was going through. I said, well, let's finish that. Shamia says, girl, Shamia called this woman a lady of the night. You are a lady of the night. Shamia walks off and says, keep your clothes on and have a good day. Britt says, they say you sleep around and you're married. In her confessional, Shamia says, rumors about around me being, basically rumors about me being, girl, I keep wanting to say infidel. Rumors around me committing infidelity have been out since your cat was a kitten. And we know that's a long time ago. I said, not since her cat was a kitten. That was good. I said, let me write that down. The way that it went so left so fast. Now, I'm going to say this. You can have two different thoughts about the same thing. If you feel like, if someone, I even hate to say if you feel like, because sometimes people do feel like people are coming for them and the person genuinely is not. Because you do have people that know how to turn everything you say around and make it seem like you're attacking them. And that's not always the case, right? Britt was not talking about Shamia's daughter. I can also see why a parent would get upset. Again, Britt was not talking about Shamia's daughter. The way Shamia said it in the press, because we've talked about this months earlier when Shamia first came out with why she fell out with Britt, made it seem like Britt said something insidious about her daughter. And remember, we said, did she talk about her parenting or did she talk about her daughter? We're going to wait and see how it plays out. Now we see how it played out. I'm going to say this. As a parent myself, and you've dealt with kids who may have health challenges and different things like that, even if it was just as simply as I'm with my children all the time, I'm allowed to go out and have a drink. Like if people be like, oh, I'm stressed out about this. I'm having a bad day about this. Oh my gosh, my in-law is sick or this person is sick. I'm going to go out with my friends and take my mind off of it. That's allowed. So Shamia being in Miami, taking shots with Kelly at dinner or wherever, it's fine. She's concerned about her daughter. She knows when she gets home, what she's eventually going to get to, she's going to have to deal with it. But right now, while I'm here, I can't let it consume me. Even though some would have left the trip and got on a plane and flew back to Atlanta in the moment. or tried to get a plane out as soon as they could. Then there's some like Shamia who would have opted to stay there because I'm at work. And since I do have someone capable at home dealing with it, my mom is there, my husband is there, Shiloh's not alone, or Shiloh. The baby is Shiloh, right? And the older girl is Shia, I think. Anyway, I have someone there to be there that I trust with Shia or Shiloh, the baby. I'm gonna go ahead and finish out my work thing. So I don't fault Shamia for having shots. I don't judge her for not going home right away. Hey, but I do feel like Britt, even though you didn't talk about her child, it is kind of like, I'm not mad at it, but I can see why Shamia is upset with it. But you could also be a little bit more clear when you're saying, I fell out with her because she talked about my parenting, not about my child, about my parenting, and I'm still offended, you know? But child, when she said, keep your clothes on, called her a lady other night. Anyway, we have some interstitials. Kelly waking up with her kids. Child, her dog is getting a doggy facial. Enough with the dog. Drew making content for that drink, Alani, that energy drink. Try one of those. It was okay. I'm more of a Red Bull girl. Ralph calls to get permission to come upstairs. We flash forward to a non-reality scene, which is Britt and her husband looking at a plane for a getaway. If you don't stop playing in my face, get off. Stop taking up time slots for the customers that's coming behind you and really gonna get on a plane. Girl, sit down somewhere. Then we go back to Kelly's house. Kelly and her girls are cooking. Kelly's sister Kamaya comes over. They talk about the Sandy Springs location that she's trying to open. She says she's behind. Now, remember, we talked a few months ago on the channel about the lawsuit that Kelly is in with the landlords. And I meant to have it pulled up so we could, just as a quick refresher, this was back in April of this year. So we're talking about them filming what, 2024? Kelly says they're behind trying to get this location open. But in April, it came out that she was accused of owing a six-figure sum in unpaid rent for her restaurant months after making her debut on the Real Housewives of Atlanta. The lawsuit was filed March 26th. In the complaint, he claims Kelly leased the property spot and for the Sandy Springs location. The landlord said the 5-year lease was executed on January 6, 2024, expires August 31st, 2029. In the suit, the landlord claims Kelly and Nanas have breached the terms of the lease by, amongst other things, failing to obtain required permits. Remember, we saw in the show her contractor was saying she was going to need them, failing to commence tenant improvements, failing to open the premises for business with the public, in addition, or failing to pay. Now, that was in August. I'm sorry, that was April of this year, May, June. So I haven't heard about them being open as well. The suit read, despite receipt of the notices of default, neither Nanas nor defendant has cured the monetary default or the non-monetary default. So I believe the non-monetary defaults will be the permits and all of that. The landlord said Kelly has failed to comply with her obligations under the lease. As of March 25th, 2025, Nanas remains in possession of the premises and the lease has not been terminated in writing. The suit, Kelly was accused of owing 101,000. Try to look like a million for a minute. $101,140.64. He also wants her to cough up $13,453 for future rent owed until the expiration of the lease. I haven't heard any updates. I don't know about y'all, but it's a lot. She's going through a lot. Now, I'll see if Britt was at the reunion. Britt could have brought that up. I'm just saying, but she did not come to the reunion. All right. So, one thing that Kelly did say, she said she's got to be extremely careful opening up another location because technically she's still married. Because remember, their divorce was not finalized that day. And there's assets connected through marriage. So her sister asked her oldest daughter if she was going to be the hostess. So the daughter said, can I be the manager? Kelly said, child, at this point, with the way things are going, her daughter going to be all the employees, the manager, the hostess, cashier, the waitress. She going to be all the things. Whew, now we at Ralph and Drew's house. Why do they keep showing us this man? Why? When I tell y'all I'm sick of seeing this man. And then he's at the reunion It, at this point, I hope that Drew's in on it. At this point, I hope that they're in cahoots and that they're doing this for her storyline. Because if not, I cannot fathom Bravo giving this man a platform. It's about the housewife. I don't want to hear from a husband that is still angry with his mother because she did not shape his head properly as a baby. And now he looks like somebody took a bite out of the side of his head. I shouldn't have to watch that. So at this point, I hope that Drew and Ralph are in cahoots. Moving on. Ralph was upstairs playing the piano. She asked him, does he miss the piano? And he said he does. She says, do you have something you want to talk to me about? He starts, how did we get into this place? This is a Tyler Perry show on BET Plus. This is not real. I refuse to believe that this is really happening. So this has to be fake for the TV show. How did we get here? Deborah Cox, get out of my face. Let me guess, we're not supposed to be here. You tried this love thing for the last time, right? I don't care. If it's real, I feel for Drew. If it's not real, you gonna. I don't want to see it next season. I don't want to see Ralph. I want to see Drew. I like Drew. There's a point where I was like, if she's here, great. If she's not, great. I like looking at Drew. I think Drew has an angel face. Y'all know I keep saying that. So I don't mind aesthetically her being on the show, but I don't need to see that man attached to her. And I want her to be real. Drew talks about authenticity in her interviews a lot. And it makes me wonder, for the people, she's always talking about people being transparent, people being open, people being authentic. And it makes you wonder, are you not being those things? They always say to people that talk about it, like the people that are always accusing you of cheating are the ones that are cheating, like that type of thing. So anyway, in her confessional, Drew lets us know that the kids are in Chicago with her mom so she can focus on getting through this divorce battle with Ralph. Y'all think they hunching in the house? I don't know. Maybe they're hunching, just not each other. She said her and Ralph don't communicate much except, when it's about the kids. So Ralph tells her, basically, my hands are tied. I can't see the kids Monday through Friday. Then they can come in the basement, but I'm not allowed to take them to school. I can't do anything. There's certain things I can't do with my kids that I want to do. Drew says, even though there's an order for that, you can ask permission. I would never keep my kids away because that's their dad. They need their dad. She also told Ralph that, look, even though their marriage failed, all failure isn't bad because look what they got out of it. They got their kids. If it wasn't for them getting married, they wouldn't have had their kids together. So to her, it's not a failure. She said, I want him to have what he wants. I want to have what I want. We both deserve to be happy. In her confessional, she says, I hope that we can be friends one day. The way he's dragging her through these streets, if this is not planned and it's not all a part of Drew having a storyline, if he is truly, when he's showing him text messages, trying to show her, saying that Drew was cheating with Ty, I don't see them. I don't know if saw myself if my ex was dragging me through the streets, talking about my lesbian love affair, my straight love affair, my throuple love affair, any of that, airing out text messages saying he planned my storyline for the show and knowing that this is my job. Like, I don't know that I could see myself wanting to be friends. And again, unless he seeks therapy, he's going to carry that anger with him about his mama not shaping his head. All right. We're back at Britt's house. Her mom has officially moved in. Their families are coming together. She said because her and her husband got married in COVID, they didn't have a wedding. So their sides didn't get to meet each other. I said, now that was 2019, right? They're filming this in 2024. So they've never gotten together. But then we do have to remember that Britt was having issues with her mom, her sisters, because she does say they have not all been able to sit together. Her mom, and her sisters, all of them, in over a year, or be on a three-way call in the last 6 months. They show the flashbacks of them arguing on the phone. But look, it be like that sometimes. Siblings, to me, are people too, outside of just being your sibling. They have attitudes and different things. And I have a friend, and I asked, which one of your siblings would you not be do you have any siblings that you wouldn't be friends with if y'all weren't siblings? Because sometimes you may have that. No, this is not the person I would choose to be around if they weren't my sibling. And to me, the stage in life that I'm in is if it could be hard, but if your family is toxic to you, if they're literally killing you and draining you, remove yourself, right? But I'm glad that they're able to come back together because it is nice when family can come back together and move on and have fun and be there for each other. I'm gonna tell you, I feel like I didn't mind seeing this with Britt. I just wish we had saw it sooner because now I feel like were they just trying to put scenes in to make Britt softer somehow? I don't know because at this point I'm not interested. Like even though it was nice seeing it, I'm not interested. But anyway, so Britt says we have an announcement. The family's like, "Are you pregnant?" Because remember Kelly last week, yeah, you can't even have kids. So I think Britt may have fertility issues. I think did she talk about that? Either way, they're like, "Are you pregnant?" And she's like, "No, we're actually going to have a ceremony. We want you all involved, and after that, we'll work on getting pregnant." It's the day of Charles and Angela's foundation, the gala. How do y'all say it? Do y'all say gala or gala? Because I've heard people say it two different ways. Angela, all the ladies are arriving looking makeup, beautiful. The ladies are beautiful. Fashions are not always there, but I will say the faces are beautiful. Angela said their fundraising goal is $50,000. So there was a quick flash. So you know how they showed us different parts. There was a flash to Kelly hugging Cynthia at the table. And I said, y'all did not answer my question. How tall is Kelly? Because they make the jokes about her being a hobbit. Phaedra has called her a guarding gnome. She talks about her being so short. When I saw her hug Cynthia, I said, that lady is little. Now, granted, Cynthia is probably, do y'all think Cynthia is like 6 feet or close? There was such a height difference. I noticed that. Cynthia had to come down, I think, to hug her. You know how like when men, when they're with smaller, shorter, they're women, they come down to hug them, or the ladies like on her tippy toes. Like that's what I felt like what was happening when Kelly and Cynthia hugged each other. I said, how little is this lady? Anyway, they're looking for Angela. Cynthia's like, where's Angela? Charles is like, that's what I'm saying. And Cynthia's like, what you mean? That's what you're saying. We see Angela in a room. She's on the phone with Drew. She's asking Drew, when are you going to get here? Why has Drew been late to every single event? Is she working on something else? Y'all notice Drew has been late to every single event. My doll baby angel face. Get it together because you're late every single event. And I would hate for them to put you out, or you to get locked out of the show like you got locked out of Phaedra's fashion show. So Angela and Drew are on the phone. They met up with the guy, Marcus, that was at Kelly's party that said, cheers if your name is Angela and your husband is cheating on you. They actually met up with him. They show a flashback. They were sitting with Marcus and one of his employees, Alex, which Alex has since, y'all, went on TikTok trying to clear things up. And I think I'm going to do a separate video for that. I should have had it ready to put in here, but I knew this review would be kind of long because I'm having fun with it. But we'll do a separate video about Alex. So Angela is asking Marcus, because remember Drew's there and then Alex is there. Angela is saying, when was Charles allegedly with this other woman in with your restaurant? And then Alex, the employee, goes, June. Angela says, you're a liar and you're a bad liar. In her confessional, she said they picked up on the BS. Charles was coaching in the Big Three. He was on national TV at the time. So I said, for the whole month of June, did he not come back to Atlanta at all? Because it'd be one thing if he was like, I know for sure it was the third week of June and Charles was away coaching in the Big Three. Then you could say, Charles, he wasn't even there. But are we talking about he was gone the entire month? Maybe he was. I don't know. How long is the Big Three? What is that anyway? The Big Three? Is it the top three teams in the NBA? Is it for like rookies? Is it for college? Like I've heard of the Big Three. Is that sort of like the March Madness, but in June? Some y'all will let me know because I truly don't know. I'm not a basketball fan, so I don't know. Anyway, so Drew is telling Angela, like, look, Marcus is coming. He said he hopes that we're gonna have his back tonight. So again, clearly he's gonna be at the event. They show a flashback to the scene of all them meeting again with Drew and Marcus and Alex. Angela says, you better tell me who put you in that room, meeting at Kelly's. Do you want to write it? So I guess Marcus typed it in the notes app. And Drew says, I want to see, and kind of looks at it. So clearly, and he wrote a woman's name, right? So Angela said they're gonna get to the bottom of it. I said, well, all right. So Cynthia, we're back at the event. Cynthia meets, well, we're out of the room with Angela and off the phone with Drew. Drew needs to be on the way. Cynthia meets Phaedra. Cynthia sees Phaedra and her man, Che Che slash Shek. And in her confessional, Cynthia says Phaedra got her a cute little young thing, a little chocolate drop. Now that's Mr. Chocolate. Remember, y'all know they said that Jamal Bryant was the Mr. Chocolate that they were talking about back in the day. I don't know if it's true, but remember that one scene in that episode of Atlanta when they all went to, where did they go? Sheree was there, Phaedra was there, and it had something to do politically with the boys and stuff. And was Al Sharpton there and Jamal Bryant was there too? Y'all remember? I don't know, but they said he was the Mr. Chocolate. But anyway, um, oh, child, wait a minute. Okay, my microphone had went out. I wanted to make sure because if I recorded the rest of this with no mic, y'all would have just had to guess what I was saying by my facials and by my hands. Anyway, so Angela comes out. She's hugging the ladies. They're hugging each other, and she says, "Wait a minute." Oh, because every time I say Shamia, y'all, my notes it translates as Shamika, and that's one of my best friends. So I guess it's just translating, even though I'm saying Shamia, it translates into Shamika. So, okay. Porsha was in the confessional and said, after Britt told me that Shamia was talking about me, look, I got a thousand, I'm paraphrasing, I got 1,001 things going on compared to everything else I got going on in my life, the divorce, I lost my cousin, all this stuff. Shamia talking about me is on the lowest things that I got to think about. So if she comes in with good energy, child, I'm reciprocate that same energy, and it's just gonna be what it is. So next up, they asked Porsha how she's doing. Porsha said she's good. Thank you for asking. I'm gonna send you all the information over. I'm assuming for the homegoing. Kelly tells Shamia that she killed it during her showcase and says everybody can't handle it. Everybody can't handle it like that. Can't do this like that. I was confused. What was she talking about? Now, granted, I might have looked down sometimes when Kelly talks. It is so loud that I have to look away from my TV. That's how loud it is. I don't know, but y'all let me know. I was confused on that one. Kelly says maybe, wait, I don't know. Kelly said something about one monkey not stopping no show. I think she was talking about Britt. On the other side of the table, Britt is talking to Porsha and Cynthia and says, Shamia's mad at me now. And Portia's like, mad at you, why? And Cynthia basically let it be known because I ran back and told Shamia that Britt told you that Shamia was talking about her to you. Portia's like, you ain't supposed to be telling the conversation. And move past that. Angela and Charles get up. Thank everybody for coming. Again, Drew is late. They honor different people who help in the community. So they honored the founder and CEO of Meals on Wheels Atlanta, which is Charlene Ingram. So that's a wonderful charity, a wonderful foundation, rather. They honor the founder of the Purse Foundation, Erica Alton. Then they also bring up Porsha and honor her family's foundation, the Hezekiah Walker child. Not Hezekiah Walker. What was her grandfather? Jose, Jose, Hosea Williams. I don't know why Hezekiah Walker came. Maybe there's a song I need to listen to trying to get my spirit together, but Hosea Williams. I was about to say it again. They honor Porsha, her grandfather's foundation, and Londi did a lot of the work. Like I think Londi worked for the foundation day to day. So they honor her. And that was really nice of Angela to do that. In her confessional, Angela says that Londi and Porsha were instrumental in the grandfather's foundation, so she thought it was fitting to honor her. Angela, after she honored everybody, gave Porsha a hug. Porsha gave a speech. Angela said that concluded the event, thanked everyone, and then somebody started singing. Portia's crying and all the ladies rallied around her. I guess she was really thinking about her cousin and she's crying. They all get up, take her from the table, and they all go to, like the back and they're wiping her tears. They're all hugging her. In her confessional, Shamia says, look, I didn't want this friendship group to change the dynamic of my friendship with Porsha. She's my person. I really, really love my friendship with her and I respect and I value it. So I hope and pray that Portia understands that the love is always there. The intentions have always been good and pure, and I want nothing but the best for her. What of our friendship moving forward? I have no idea. I just leave that in God's hands. I said, well, okay. So to me, the people say they're still not really cool. So in her confessional, Cynthia says, I love that no matter what we're going through, we will come together for the other. Like if one of us needs the other, we're all there to support no matter what. Child, then Drew gets a text. I mean, Drew texts Angela, your friend is here. I got him a drink. Angela tells Charles she's about to step out. And then she asks Drew, can you go get Phaedra? While Charles is over there dapping it up with Shaq. By the way, I think I missed something. I did. Yeah, I thought I had it. I must have skipped. Yes, I did. I skipped my whole note, y'all. It was, let me go back real quick. And it ain't nothing big. After we saw that little Tyler Perry scene of Ralph and Drew, Phaedra and Shay, she calls him, Shaq, were at the winery. Little young thing, go around with your tongue. Right? That's what that gives. Is it real though, y'all? Do y'all believe it's real? They got on the plane from Married to Medicine and flew straight into the Real Housewives of Atlanta, I guess. Anyway, so there's that. I forgot all about that. Anyway, Angela and all the ladies are sitting down. She thanks them all for coming. Then she brings up what happened at at Kelly's event. Again, the guy and his toast. Angela said, Kelly, I still find it odd that this happened in the middle of your event. So Portia was like, are you questioning Kelly? Are you questioning Kelly? In her confessional, Kelly said, I can't believe Angela, and I'm shocked that she would think that I would have something to do with it. It was such a nasty moment. So then Angela says, when I told Charles, he said something didn't add up. Somebody had to invite him. She then turns to Britt and says, I know you and I didn't have the best relationship, so I wasn't certain if you sent somebody. Britt said, look, I'm a married woman, so at the end of the day, I would never want to sabotage you. Y'all, why Kelly start laughing out loud and then start elbowing Shamia? You know how when you want to be like, child, she lying. Look at that. So she's elbowing Shamia. So Britt said, look, we've had our differences, but at least we've always been able to be upfront with them and not talk behind our backs, and we're moving in a good direction. So in her confessional, Britt said, I feel some type of way that Angela could possibly think it was me. I wasn't even invited to Kelly's event. How could I have had that much power? But the finger is definitely pointing in Kelly's direction. So then Angela says, Drew and I were trying to get to the bottom of it, and I think she did. So Britt, like everybody's like, well, what happened? And Britt said, what happened? Phaedra said, who hired him? Angela said, I don't know where he is. Because people are like, wait, because I think people are starting to catch on. Wait, she's get ready to do something here. So somebody, I don't know if it was Porsha. Did y'all catch who? I'm not gonna lie, I didn't go back and rewatch it, the scene. Somebody said, oh, he's here, and Drew gets up to go get him. In her confessional, Porsha said, why would you bring this guy? I do understand, like, did it make for a moment? Yes, but then I also understand, Porsha, like, you're bringing light to this. Like, why would you? But then I also feel if this is a real thing and Angela didn't set this up herself, which why would she? But also, if she didn't set this up herself, I understand her wanting to out the person who did on TV with the guy standing there. That is gonna makes for a moment, right? Child, Marcus and Charles standing around just looking. Britt says, give us tea. And Charles says, no, you gotta go. Marcus says, I have to leave. Charles said, get your mother out of here. Get out of here. Charles was not playing. Angela's trying to explain to Charles why she doesn't want Marcus to go. Charles is like, nah, he disrespected you the other day. While Angela is trying to get Marcus to wait. And I'm like, now, Angela, you've been wanting Charles to have your back this whole season. He's been kind of playing you. People been giving him passes. Oh, that's how older black men are. They're always joking on their wives. No, especially not when you're on TV. Now he got your back and he's trying to kick this man out because this man disrespected you by talking about him, though. Right? He didn't just disrespect Angela. He talked about Charles cheating on Angela. Angela grabs Marcus's hand and yells at Charles, leave him alone. So now Marcus is standing in front of Angela and Charles yelling. And so Angela starts yelling, who told you? Who told you? Marcus is looking at Charles pleading, did I not apologize to you the other day? And so Angela touches Charles. I mean, touches Marcus. Charles said, "Nah, don't touch him. Don't touch him. What are you doing?" Charles is not here for no explanation, no nothing. So Charles tells him, "Look, you disrespected me as a man." I said, "That is something an older black man would say," because he didn't say you lied on me. He said you disrespected me as a man. All the ladies are in their confessional, like Charles is not here for it. And every single lady says Charles was known as the enforcer. And then Charles in scene tells him, "You know what? You lucky. I'm just gonna say you lucky." So in the confession, in his joint confessional with Angela, Charles said he knew it was BS from the beginning. And Angela is like, "But I wanted you to hear him clear your name." So basically, I wanted him to say that it was set up, and so your name could be cleared. So Charles was like, "I don't need all that." So in the scene, Charles says, "I'm out of here. I can't take this no more." And he goes to leave. Marcus goes over to sit down with the women. Marcus says, "There's somebody in this circle of y'all that is not happy with Angela." So they're like, cut to it, man. Like, we going through all this. Who said it? Marcus says, "Phaedra." And the look on the lady's face was priceless. Kelly's jaw dropped to the floor. Like, drop. Angela said, wait, not Angela. Britt. I think Britt, one of them said Phaedra didn't do it. What are you talking about? Marcus said Phaedra is the godfather in Atlanta. Phaedra says, "Of what?" In her confessional, she says, "My mother taught me keep your friends close and your enemies closer," with the Godfather music playing in the background. So Marcus says she controls Atlanta. Phaedra said, "And what the hell does that have to do with her?" I said, "Not the Southern Belle, cousin." In her confessional, Phaedra says, "Of course, I get the blame. I'm an easy target. But girl, I have absolutely no reason to put anybody up to this nonsense. I've already had my marriage destroyed on national TV. So there's no way in hell I will come for anyone else's marriage." I said, "That's true, except you kept insinuating in your confessionals that Charles was cheating. Or Charles was hiding, Angela. I've never known Charles to have a wife. In the circles that I'm in with Charles, no one knows he's married. That was over 10 years ago when he wasn't even married then. So you didn't even take the time to say, okay, when I knew Charles, I didn't know about Angela, but was he with her? Was he even married? No. You're so run mad to make little digs about their marriage. So while you may not have time to go hire somebody to or do something, you are taking digs at her marriage and calling it fun shade. Go away from me with this, Apollo. So, let's not act like you've been a champion of their marriage since you've met her. Anyway, Marcus said the tea was dropped to me at Fitz Plaza the Monday before the event. Phaedra said, "You never even met me. You're crazy. You don't even know her." Like on the Five Heartbeats, y'all. That's my favorite movie. Anyway, so Marcus said, "You dropped it off to me." And they were like, "Well, what did she drop off?" And he was like, "An envelope with the info." Kelly said, "Oh, this is too much. This is too much." Porsha in her confessional said, "The only thing I've ever heard Phaedra say about Charles is that he likes to have a good time." I said, "Girl, please." While she may not have told you, she definitely insinuated that Charles was, yeah, a fun time. Like, you know how they say Heather Gay was a fun time girl? Charles was. Well, that's what Heather Gay accused Lisa of saying about her. Lisa did say it, right? Anyway, they're from Salt Lake City. Phaedra was like, Charles was a fun time guy. So in her confessional, Britt says Phaedra is a lawyer. I said, "Have you watched the show, Britt?" Now look, before the people come, yeah, that's I don't like Phaedra. I don't have an issue with Phaedra. If she's here, she's here. If she's not, she's not. Phaedra doesn't work me up. I do feel like we get nothing from her, but we've always not gotten nothing or not the truth from Phaedra since she's been on the show. That's who Phaedra is. But for Britt to say Phaedra is a lawyer as if Phaedra wasn't taking money from Bobby Brown in a parking lot, which some lawyers do business like that. But anyway, Britt says, "Do you think she'll be that stupid to have it leave like a trail of paper in an envelope?" Again, have you watched the show? Britt says he reached, and let me say this. Let me go back. I'll give Britt half a point because maybe Phaedra wouldn't leave if it was her, have paper, but would have done it a different way. I don't think it was beneath Phaedra to do. I'll say that much. We don't know if she did it, but I don't think it's beneath her to do. So it doesn't shock me to hear her name. Again, not saying she did it, but I don't think it's beneath something that she would do. I'll just say that. So Britt said that Phaedra reached out to you. Marcus said, we have a connect. Angela said, tell me who the connect is. Say the name. Say their names. And if not, leave it on the playground. Marcus says Junebug. Shamia in her confessional says, Drew, did you write this? Or you just acting in it and got a Tubi? I mean, acting it on Tubi. I said, see, she don't even know that Drew shaded her, but here she is shading Drew again, like you've been all season. And Drew was in your best friend Candy's movie. Was that Tubi? I'm just so irritated. Shamia irritates me in that way, y'all, because she has no legit beef with Drew. And every time you turn around, Drew is in her mouth. Like, my God, does she taste like sweets? Because she is constantly in your mouth. Anyway, so they're all laughing. Porsha says, that's an Athens name if I ever heard one. In her confessional, Porsha says, you know what? This is the scheme that Todd came up with. Todd, I don't know where you are, but you came up with it. And of course, they showed a flashback of Aunt Bertha. Shouts out to Aunt Bertha and the family. We know that I believe Aunt Bertha has Alzheimer's. Candy came out and said a month or so ago. So just prayers up to the family. Aunt Bertha gave us some good reality TV or some dramatic reality TV. So Marcus says, I promise that's the truth. But you don't want to hear the truth. Have a good day. And walked out. Cynthia says, that could be any of our cousins. Everybody got a June bug around here somewhere. So Phaedra says, why would I have a beef with you, Angela? Angela said, is it the ring? Basically, or Phaedra's jealous. She's saying Phaedra's jealous because Phaedra's not married. Angela wants a ring. Angela said, you tried to come in between mine. And Phaedra said, girl, bye. You notice that when Phaedra gets mad, sometimes her real voice will slip out. And not that, oh, Jesus. Oh, yes, Lord, yes. She said, girl, bye. The Athens, I guess, came out, right? Anyway, she says something about Angela deflecting. And Angela says, I'm not deflecting. Phaedra says, you don't even know me. And I said, exactly. So why do you talk about you have mentioned their marriage before, Phaedra? Angela said, you're playing at a low level right now. And I trusted you. I liked you, Phaedra. So Phaedra was like, I liked you too, but now you're accusing me of something with no proof. Angela then says, the Godfather says, beware of the person who brings you the information. So basically, what did she call back to the beginning of the season when Portia's mom told Porsha the dog that brings the bone carries one? Something like that. Angela says, the Godfather said, be careful, be aware of the person who brings you the information. Phaedra, you gave me all the information. So in Angela's confessional, the producer says, how did you know Marcus's full name and everything? Angela says, Phaedra called me and said, hey, you know the guy who approached you? I remember him. She says she has the memory of an elephant and that his name is Marcus such and such. He works at such and such. Now, is that restaurant his? Because they say he's a restaurant owner. We don't know. She said, yeah, Phaedra gave me the information. Phaedra then says he introduced himself in front of us. Now, in her confessional, she said, I don't know the man. And she said she's denying ever knowing the man, period. She said the real question is who made the guest list and who allowed him in. But to think, after all I've been through with this group, and the controversy, girl, you must have lost your mind. Like basically, I lost my job because of something that I told Porsha. And you think I would come back and do that and I don't even know you? Angela says, all roads lead to Phaedra. Phaedra said, well, you're researching, but you failed to tell us you're in foreclosure. I said, now wait how we go from Marcus picking up envelopes and putting down Angela's business to foreclosure? I said, okay, but I like it. Keep going. Angela said, that ain't no tea, sis. I'll tell you everything I'm going through, honey, and I will get out of it. Okay. Angela said, from one failed friendship group to another, and here you are with the same issue with your old tricks or something like I said. In her confessional, Cynthia said, how did Phaedra get into that? How did she get into this? How does Phaedra even have time to get into this messy ish? I know Phaedra can be slick, but I need some more information. Angela said, you walking around here like you think you got it all together. Do you let your kids visit their father? I said, oh, not the children, child, not the children. Phaedra said, they do all the time. Angela said, are you sure? Kelly said, Angela, leave the kids out of it. Leave the kids out of it. Angela tells Phaedra, you are a horrible person. In her confessional, Shamia says, in my spirit, I'm feeling like the prime suspect is Britt Eady. Angela told the girl she had stretch marks around her mouth. Child. In her confessional, Kelly says, I wouldn't be surprised if Britt sent the mystery man there to ruin my event. Hold on, y'all. I got to pause this. They say my computer about to die. Hold on. I'm back and we almost done. So Kelly says she wouldn't be surprised if Britt sent the mystery man to ruin her event. I mean, her and Angela haven't been getting along. We're definitely on the outs, and this is her level of mess. Phaedra says, I have nothing to do with this. Porsha, now I'm not gonna lie, y'all. Porsha had me crying. The way she said, I think Angela did this to herself. That was so funny to me, y'all. She said, fight me at the reunion. Angela says, I'm sad that we ended on this note, and I wish you all and I wish basically all of this investigation into my relationship would stop. You tried to ruin my marriage. Kelly said, ain't nobody telling the truth. Boom, the title cards come up. It says, Kelly says after 3 years, Kelly finally closed the doors on her marriage in September of 2024. She is preparing to open new doors to her Sandy Springs Nana's Chicken and Waffles location in spring or summer of 2025. Then we're back in scene. Shamia says, my kid was brought up the other day, and somebody said, who brought up your kid? And Shamia points to Britt and says, she said I was faking her being sick. Britt said, I didn't say she was faking. I said when she got to Miami, she was quick to be hanging out with Kelly. Shamia says, I walked away because I wanted to beat her arms. Britt said, is that a threat? Britt might be a little cuckoo. Child, I don't know. Britt said, is that a threat? Almost like, bring it. Like she could taste it. Shamia said, you threaten people with guns. That's what you do, whore. You threaten people with guns. That's what you do, whore. Remember, Angela said, you're a whore. Britt had heard one too many whores because Kelly also called her a whore. Britt got up, took that mic off, and said, that's not cool. I'm not doing that with these low lives. Britt, not whistles and pips, talking about low lives. She says they are low lives. Her title card says Britt is using her clean slate to open a new insurance agency. She is also working hard to release Bare and Naked and to make sure that the masses can be snatched like her. Child, her and Mike walk off. Drew says, I think we're done here. Her title comes up and says Drew's album, I Did It to Me, was released in March of 2025. While her music career is on high, her relationship with Ralph is still on the lowest as he continues to reside in the basement apartment in the sky. With the end of a divorce nowhere in sight. Y'all, is they really divorcing? Anyway, child, Shamia is yelling, I never had ish to say to that bitch. Her title card says, Baby Shiloh continues to make progress. Shamia has a new surrogate and hopes to welcome a baby boy soon. Her single Never Had was released in March 2025. She hopes that listeners don't talk over it this time. Angela says, thank you for my introduction to this group. Thank you, Phaedra. I hope you enjoyed yourself. Phaedra's title card says Phaedra is booked and busy and adding more jobs to her resume until her boys retire her. Meanwhile, her chocolate prince is still I think it said prince, is still satisfying her sweet tooth. Angela walks out and her title card says Angela has sold 3 homes, which good for her, but unfortunately 2 have been lost. However, she is staying cool under pressure with her next business adventure, Fangie, a line of fans. No word on when she and Charles will renew their vows. So you think it's over. Porsha, Cynthia, and Phaedra are walking out of the event. Porsha is saying, child, Britt and Shamia were going to eat each other up. Cynthia said, Britt told me that she told you, and I had a conversation with Shamia. Porsha said you wasn't supposed to tell her that, like you wasn't supposed to be saying nothing. Porsha said, look, Shamia probably feels comfortable talking to Kelly and Britt about me. She said, but I am 43 years old. I have a job. I'm doing a whole lot of things. I've had a conversation with her to say, listen, I cherish our friendship. And if she decides to take us somewhere else, that's on her. But if she comes back, she comes back. I'm still here for her. Cynthia said, I apologize for overstepping and saying anything. Meanwhile, we see Shamia and she's FaceTiming Gerald. Um, Next thing you know, a title card comes up, or a black screen with white letters 5 months later. Child, Miss Drysdale, that's what my grandma used to say when she would talk about somebody's rich, Miss Drysdale. Child, Miss Drysdale is in her home. You don't have a home? Porsha and the screen comes up and it says Porsha and Simon's home. Then it says Porsha's home. If Simon was watching, I know that sent him through whatever roof he's under. Porsha was walking on her treadmill. In her confessional, she said, listen, I can't tell you how excited I am to film in my home. I still have to move forward and find out how the split will happen with our home. But as of right now, everything stays put. Child, Portia's business partner, Miss Diane, comes in her leopard print, looking for a white chase and a pizza. I'm never going to let that go. Never. Shout out to Miss Diane. She looking good. Porsha says, this divorce is different. I did not roll over and be taken advantage of. I've grown. Growth. She says that in confessional. She tells her mom the attorney called her and said she actually has a date for court. Her mom said, you guys have been divorcing for almost 15 months. Porsha said, almost as long as the marriage. She said, I know he's ready to move on. I have not seen his face in over 10 months or so. I haven't spoken to him at all. So I'm hopeful that when we go to court next month, that the judge just goes ahead and says, you know what, the prenup will be enforced. Because if the prenup is enforced, everything is split. You got what you got. I got what I got. I got what I got, and our property will be split. And that's all I have to look forward. And that's what I have to look forward to, closure. Child. And for it to be over. Her and her business partner clink glasses, clink, clink. Portia's title card read, Simon was detained while entering the country in February 2025, leaving the divorce on ice. I said, production, you ain't no good. They are wild for that. Her mom says, it's divine alignment. And scene. Y'all, I enjoyed this episode. I was cracking up, as y'all could see from start to finish. I didn't even realize my review was going to be that long, though. I honestly thought it was going to be like 30 minutes, but I had a good time down here talking to y'all. Let me know what y'all think about the episode, what you liked, what you didn't like. Did y'all wish that Britt had went to the reunion so she could have stood in the things that she was saying during the season and possibly come back next season? I wish she had to come to the reunion. I think it would have been interesting. And I would have wanted to see if she could hold her own. One thing I'll say about that Miss Kenya Summer Moore, no matter what, even if it was of her doing, she never shied away from showing up to a reunion and sitting in it and taking it. And I've said the same thing about Teresa too. No matter how you feel about her, she always showed up and took it. So I love y'all so much. I've missed y'all. I will be back with another video, but I will talk to you soon. Don't forget, let me know y'all thoughts on the episode. We are in a safe space. We don't always have to agree, just respectful. Let me know what y'all think. All right. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, go over to your podcast app, type in what else is going on, and follow the podcast there. Follow me on Instagram, please, at WeGo, WEIGO podcast. On X, the same name. And then go on over and follow me on TikTok. I am going to start posting there. We Go Podcast and the number one. Love y'all.